Sagittarius, welcome to Carol's Universe, Tarot Readings from the Heart. Thanks ever so much for joining me on your week ahead reading. This is October the 11th through to October the 17th, 2021. So for the reading this week, we are going to use, I've been using this for quite a few of the signs. It's my Shuffle Tarot. Actually, I've got two of these. I went on a bit of a spending spree actually last year. And going into this year as well, just buying tons of indie decks, and I found these called the Shuffle Tarot. And sorry guys, it's just that I'm recording via a different camera at the moment than the one I usually record on. Yeah, so this is I think Malaysia or Thailand or something, but it's beautiful. What it does is it puts different characters from different cards into different cards. Okay, that sounds weird. Let me explain. So on this one we've got the Fool. It's sitting on the throne of the Empress. So this would be the Emperor card, but it's got a Fool on it. And the brilliant thing with this particular concept is that you can read the cards in a more creative way. So, you know, for example, for me, when I look at the Fool in the house of the Emperor, it reminds me of somebody who's quite young, quite naive, inexperienced, but who has a huge amount of responsibility heaped on them, even before they're ready to do it. And I just thought, whoa, what an amazing concept for a deck. And even the back says, when everything, what is it? When everything is shuffled, the fun begins. And that is so true. I've had so much fun doing readings with these. I love them. So I'm going to use the Collection B. I've been using Collection A quite a bit, and I've decided to turn to Collection B for a few of the readings for the week ahead. So we're going to use this deck. And for your spiritual advice, guys, we are going to use the Angel Answers deck, Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine, okay? If you'd like to order a reading with me after the reading, click on the link in the comment section below, and also make sure you check me out on Patreon at the end of November. All right, here we go. Right, let's start shuffling the cards. The Queen of Swords, okay. The Queen of Swords definitely takes charge of situations, and she tends to move forward with an air of fearlessness, okay, because she sees clearly what the matter is at hand. This is also a card for making decisions. Now, it's interesting because what we've actually got is Justice in the house of the Queen of Swords, which is interesting because it's ruled by Libra. Queen of Swords is Libra and Justice is Libra. So there's definitely an energy of fairness and balance. Perhaps there's a sense of needing to restructure something here, or to bring some form of balance and equilibrium or equality back to a matter here. This is also a card about making decisions as well. So it's interesting that I mean, there's not much difference for me between Justice and the Queen of Swords, except for Justice tends to be, for me, and it depends, because with the cards you can talk about justice being truth, but whose truth is it? Is it your truth or is it a collective truth? Same as the Queen of Swords, she's all about the truth and honesty side of things, but she can also be quite critical. Now, that's where they differ for me. Queen of Swords can be seen as quite a critical card. She tends to tell it how it is, or she's far more negative when she's reversed, but in the upright she can still be quite critical. Justice for me isn't about criticism, it's more judgment that would do that. But Justice is all about fairness and truth and honesty. So perhaps there's a need to focus on fairness, truth and honesty within the week ahead, or perhaps there's a need to kind of restructure or balance something within your life with the Justice energy showing there, because Justice is all about restructuring, or or trying to get something to align or to be in balance. It's interesting because maybe this is something that factors in the idea of taking charge of a situation, being that Justice is sitting in the for me, the Justice sitting in the house of the Queen of Swords is doing something completely by the book. This for me is just absolute justice, absolute truth, because we have the major arcana sitting in the house of a queen. Okay, so this is, for me, absolute truth, absolute justice, and absolute agency and sovereignty when it comes to a situation. When I talk about agency, it's about taking complete control. It's saying I've got control of this situation. I have control of my own life. I have control of me. Whatever the case is, Justice also sees things very clearly and very honestly. Even if it's your own justice, your own truth, it's about seeing those things very clearly and honestly. But let's see what... This could also be something legal as well, being that the Queen of Swords and Justice are very interlinked as well. But remember the scales of justice, fairness, balance and truth. What is the situation around this then, Sagittarius? You've got the Hangman in the house of the world. So the world is completion and ending. And then we've got the Hangman, which is all about suspending and delays with the Hangman. It's also about letting go and surrendering. Okay. I'm wondering if there's something about having to surrender to, surrendering to, it's not truth, it's completion. Or if this is completion delayed. Or if this is, because it's the Hangman. So Hangman is delayed before the world completes. But the Hangman is sat in the world of, in the house of a complete card. So it's sat in the environment of something being complete. This may be something that has been taking a while, actually. Sagittarius is now completing itself with this world energy showing there. We have the Empress. Wow, it's got no head. What's going on here? There's... Wow. Is this death? In the house of the Empress? This has got no head. I think this may be the death card. It's got a skull here. Black figure here. Death. The ending. An ending inside creativity. Inside of a creative card. So we'll look at the next one. Wow. The sun in the house of the High Priestess. So something here is being illuminated. The sun would illuminate the High Priestess. Whatever is being hidden in the High Priestess is being illuminated. So something is being illuminated here. A secret being illuminated. But you can't see it. You can't see it. You're open to something being illuminated here, but still you can't see. Because she's got the blindfold on. She's looking straight across at the High Priestess. And she can see that something is being illuminated inside inside this dark chamber. Something is being shown, but she's not seeing it, despite having herself open to it. Her mind is open to something here, but she still can't see it. The Ten of Cups. So the Ten of Wands in the house of the Ten of Cups. So struggles, but she's carrying the struggle really easily. So there's a struggle inside the family, perhaps. Interesting cards. Situation being the Hangman in the house of the world. So delays at an end. The ending of a creative cycle in which something is now being illuminated. However, though you have your mind open to it, you still cannot see. Probably because there are struggles that you are still carrying. I don't know why the word past life came to me. I don't even know whether I really believe in the concept of a past life, to be honest. I'm doing some studying around that at the moment, but I don't know. Ten of Wands, still some struggles that you're carrying within the family. Ten of Wands in the house of the Ten of Cups, stress and struggles within the family, within the home. You know what I get from this? I think that the focus this week, for you guys with this Queen of Swords, it's about focusing on the truth. Because I think that there's something with this card here that is stopping you seeing clearly what is right in front of your face. Because we have the sun in the house of the High Priestess. That's illumination of a secret. It's illuminating the dark places. And your heart is open to seeing this, but you can't see because I think that there's something standing in the way, like family. Or it could be a relationship. Something is stopping you from seeing the truth. Or it could be, you know, sisters or brothers or somebody within the community or within your close circle. There's somebody or there's some stresses or strains within the family that are stopping you from seeing the absolute truth. Or it could be something to do with your family heritage that's stopping you from seeing the absolute truth. Okay. But I do feel that delays are now at an end. Being that the Hangman is in the house of the world. Okay. And it's funny because we do have the Empress and the High Priestess sat next door to each other, actually. The Empress is the outer, the High Priestess is the inner. The inner world and the outer world. So the inner world and the outer world are being illuminated, but you can't see it due to family stresses. You can sense it, but you can't see it. Because to open your heart to something means that you can feel emotionally, but I don't think you can see this. And it's funny with these cards as well, because we go to the High Priestess for conception, then creation, and then fulfillment. So if I were to read it like that as well, without kind of looking at what's on the card, I think that some of you guys emotionally are very open to conceiving, creating and fulfilling something. But I do think with the Ten of Cups, with the Ten of Wands in the house of the Ten of Cups, it feels to me like there may be delays, or there may be things that you're struggling with that may delay this happening. Because here we see one woman with her child. She has no... she doesn't have any baggage, but this person is carrying a lot of baggage with them, this person here. And actually, that is you, isn't it? The Ten of Wands. Ten of Wands is a Sagittarius card. I think it's third decan is Sagittarius, so that is you. You're carrying a lot of stress here. I think that you're open to conceiving, creating and fulfilling a particular path. Could be a child, it could be a baby. We do have a baby in the house of the High Priestess, so when you do a pregnancy reading, some of you guys, you probably know this already, but High Priestess is a pregnancy card. It shows the conception of a baby. And then we have, so this would be a really good pregnancy combination where we have conception, the baby being nurtured in the womb, and then fulfillment, the baby being born. So it's almost like for some of you guys, you're willing, you're very open, I think, with those two swords apart. You're very open to a particular process where you go from very beginning right down to the end. So you're quite happy to fulfill a particular process here. You're quite happy to do something from start to end. You're quite happy to do that. You're open to it. But I do feel that there may be some form of stress or something, or struggle within the home that some of you guys may need to overcome before this can actually take place. I also get from this that some of you guys don't quite know where you're going because you can't see ahead. You've got the blindfold on. You're open, but you can't quite see what lies ahead here with the Two of Swords. But you're very open. Usually with the Two of Swords, the swords are crossed against the woman's chest. They're not on this particular deck because she sits in the house of the Two of Wands. So I actually feel that you're very open to something emotionally, but you can't, even though you can't see the outcome. But you're very open, I think, to going from A through right through to Z, from conception, creation through to fulfillment. I think you're very happy to do that. I get the impression there may be a few delays with this, though, with those 10 wands. Let's have a look at what the... so I think in that case, the focus is for some of you guys on getting clear. If that's the case, I think, because the Queen of Swords is always very clear, this is getting clear and getting some clarity around the matter. Okay. There may also be the need to focus on making some really important decisions, I think, here as well. Because some of you guys, it may be that there is a little bit of mental conflict as well. Two of Swords also means mental conflict. So you may be conflicted concerning a situation that takes you from, you know, conception through to fulfillment here. It may be that there's a little bit of conflict. Maybe it's due to family matters here. So maybe there's a need to also focus on the self and taking charge. Maybe making decisions that fulfill and suit you. Let's have a look at what the advice is or the outcome. You've got the 10 of coins, 10 of cups now. So we've got 10 of wands in the house of the 10 of cups. And then we've got 10 of cups in the house of the 10 of pentacles. So we've got the 10 of cups, family. Fulfillment again is the 10 of cups. And so is the 10 of coins. It's all about fulfillment. This is wealth as well with the 10 of coins. So 10 of cups in the house of the 10 of coins. Not much difference, I think, between those cards. So one is more materially based. Right, so we've got the Hierophant sat in the house of the Fool. So there's a risk here. You know, this is all about new... It's almost like the Hierophant is taking on a new belief system here. Because the Hierophant is all about tradition and doing things... that you're used to doing. That's what the Hierophant is. So it's about system or doing things in a particular way. So doing things in a very systematic way. But we get a very systematic character in a card that indicates no boundaries, the Fool. So it just feels to me that in order to fulfill this with the 10 of Cups, you've got to let go of the boundaries. Because we have the Fool, but the Hierophant sat in the house of the Fool, which then would mean to me that you have, can you see what I mean? You've got a systematic character, being the Hierophant, sitting in a card that has no system and has no boundaries. So for me, and the fulfillment of the 10 of Cups, in order to fulfill this, you've got to let go of those boundaries. You've got to let go of those boundaries. You've got to actually take off the robe of the Hierophant, okay? You've got to let go of all of those boundaries that are holding you back. Maybe the boundaries are in the 10 of Wands. The Temperance card. Who is this on the Temperance card then? Is this the Star Lady? I think this may be the Star Woman. She's usually naked on a card, isn't she? To me, this looks like cleansing. Temperance and the Star remind me, both cards would remind me of cleansing. So this is a need to cleanse oneself with the Temperance energy showing there. Star inside of Temperance. Healing, and so we've got the Death card. Transformation, a healing transformation. Yeah, there's definitely something you've got to leave behind, isn't there? You've got the 8 of Cups in the house of the... So you've got 8 Pentacles here, but you've got the person walking away. So this is like the 8 of Cups, but they're walking away from Pentacles instead of Cups. Some of you guys, it requires you to walk away from something that you've been working hard for, something that you've developed over a period of time. Okay. Because I just feel that with, and also Temperance and the Death card, for me, this is all about a slow change. So this is going to be a slow change. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. So I'm going to double up some of these cards. I would say that the advice is, well, actually, we'll come back to the advice in a minute. Let's do the reading again, and then we'll come back to the advice. I think for next week, Sagittarius, there are some very clear and present decisions that you need to make. And I also feel with the Queen of Swords. And I think that you need to be brave enough and strong enough to literally take charge, especially if... Take charge of your own life. You know, you're an independent individual being. And I think that with Justice being a woman in charge, she makes decisions. She's fair, she's rational, she's balanced, but she sits in the chair of a woman who does the same thing. Queen of Swords in the upright. So it's almost like it's kind of really enforcing that it's time for you to make some clear and present decisions and to look clearly into a situation here with the Queen of Swords. Okay? Queen of Swords, it's not always easy for her to make decisions, but it really requires you to be very to be very forward thinking and decisive in this matter, because I think that a delay is now at an end. So something has now ended. And I think that the Empress card, it almost feels like with the World and the Empress, something that you have been working towards is now fulfilled. And it almost feels like with the High Priestess that through this fulfillment, a light is shone in a very dark place. So there was something that you couldn't see. Now your heart is open, your heart senses it, but you still can't kind of see what that is. Probably, I think, due to some form of family stress here, or some form of stress that you're carrying. But it should be within family members, or it should be within close friendships. So even though your heart is open, you sense the truth. You can feel it. You can feel what the truth is here. You still can't properly see it because the blindfold is still on. Can you see she's still got the blindfold on? And that's due to some stress. Some of you guys, you are open emotionally because the Two Swords are not blocking her heart off, so she's open. You're very open to seeing something through from start to finish, from conception to creation to ending. You know, conception to creation to fulfillment. You're quite happy to do that. Your heart is completely open. The Two Swords are not crossing her heart. So her heart is open. But I think that there may be some mental conflict coming in to do with perhaps your home, your family. There's a lot of stress around that for some of you guys. And I think in a way, we're going to read it like that, really. It's interesting because we've got the death character in the house of the Empress, which is interesting because the Empress is all about creation and abundance and prosperity. I certainly don't think it's the ending of this, but I certainly feel that there are changes happening here. Perhaps this is a change of comfort. Empresses aren't about structure, but they're certainly about comfort, motherhood and nurturing. But it's interesting. I really feel that you guys are open to doing something from literally from start, conception, High Priestess, to finish, conception, creation, Empress, and fulfillment, the World. Something is very apparent to you, child. Sun in the house of the High Priestess, it's illuminating something very secretive. You're open to it, you sense it, you intuit it, but you can't necessarily see what it is because of stress or problems around home, family. Well, the advice I think is that in order to fulfill this path, because I see a path here in front of you, Sagittarius, and you know, and it's almost like when it says that your heart is open to the conception, creation, fulfillment. So your heart is open, you're in it from start to finish. It's almost saying, well, if you're in it from start to finish, our advice is that in order to complete this task or this process or this journey, you have to let go of the boundaries, because we have the Hierophant taking the risk in the house of the Fool. We have somebody who is chained to tradition, and can you see what he's done? I've just noticed this. Can you see what he's done with his keys? He's about to throw away the keys. So he's literally about to unlock himself. So you have to let go of everything in order to tread this new path, in order to fulfill. And I actually think the fulfillment of the Ten of Cups is more about the fulfillment of the journey or of the destiny. So in order to fulfill your destiny, because I think that whatever this is, it's your destiny. You're meant to be doing it, Sagittarius. Whatever this destiny is that you're meant to fulfill, you have to be brave enough to let go of the shackles that are holding you back from doing this, because you are being represented as the Hierophant in the house of the Fool, which means having to be reborn, I think, with the Temperance, with the star coming out of the Temperance. This might be having to heal, perhaps, some past traumas. I also think that for some of you guys, in order to fulfill this path, not only do you have to kind of let go of the chains that are keeping you where you are, you also have to go through this. I don't think it's a rush thing, but I think that there's a slow transformation happening here that's going to allow you to finally do this. But it also for me means that with the Eight of Cups in the house of the Eight of Coins, or the Eight of Coins in the house of the Eight of Cups rather, I actually feel that you're going to be letting go of everything you've worked for, perhaps. Things that you've built up with the Eight of Coins, because the Eight of Coins is putting a lot of time and effort in, but you're walking away from all of that. Okay. I also feel when I look at the Star in the house of Temperance, because I do see a slow transformation here before you actually do this. But I also feel with the Temperance energy showing here that you have to allow yourself to, because the Star card also, we've got this woman from the Star, I think she's from the Star in the house of Temperance. So it's almost like there's a slow unveiling here that has to take place. And if we're looking at her coming out of the water, it's almost like a reveal, or again, it's transformation. We talked about slow transformation here. But I think with this lady here as well, it's vulnerability. And if you look at where she's looking at the sun. So it's almost like you've got to allow yourself to, because the sun is shining on you, it's showing things up. So it's almost like you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. Okay. It's almost like it's saying that you need to open yourself up to being vulnerable here. And that's the way I think I'm going to read it, because it makes me feel like you need to be vulnerable, or allow yourself to be vulnerable before that change can occur with the Death card. Because with the Eight of Coins, you're going to be leaving behind a lot. And that makes sense to me when I look at it like that. That actually really makes sense to me. Because it may be that this is what the problem is, Sagittarius. That it's the fear of being vulnerable that makes you not want to go from start to finish. Makes you not want to conceive, create and fulfill this particular process. Okay. And I think that's what it is. I think there's a lot of fear. Fear, I think, shows up, Saggies, in Temperance. That's where I think it shows up, because this naked body of yours is standing in the sun. Now, we know the sun will burn you. I don't know whether she's got any protection on or not. But it's almost like he's saying that you have to allow yourself to get burned. You can't fear making mistakes. So when I look at this card, I think of the card of cleansing, because it's Temperance, healing because it's Temperance, but also vulnerability because it's the woman from the Star. I think it's the woman from the Star. And she's facing into the sun, so she's going to get burnt. And so when we know that we're going to get burnt, it's almost like a vampire going out into daylight, knowing that it's just going to, fizzle away. So there's an element of risk here, but I think for some of you Saggies, the risk is high because you're walking away from money, from security, from things that you've worked hard to achieve. So yeah, it's an interesting one. There may be a lot of healing here that needs to take place before you can walk away. As mentioned, you've got to be in that place where you're open to being vulnerable. Okay, you have to be in the place where you're open to being vulnerable. The other thing that I notice is the Death card. There's a lot of water on this card. A lot of water here. Has she just come up from the water? Is she reborn? So there's little clues in the reading. It reminds me of the need to be reborn. And if you're reborn, then you're transforming into something else before you can actually do this. Before you can actually let go, because this is material. And I get the impression, Sagittarius, that the decision that you're making requires you to let go of the material, or to let go of something that you've worked hard for, okay, in order to, pursue this journey. so many clues in the reading. All three cards telling you that you've got to let go of something here. The physical more. It's going to result in you having to let go of the physical. But you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable to the change as well. Because naked people on cards of vulnerability. This is the change. And this is letting go of the physical. So you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable to the change. Open to the change. Again, another card showing the need to be vulnerable and let go of the boundaries that you set around yourself. Okay, so I think this week coming, Sagittarius, it's a really important time to make some really important decisions. They're not going to be easy because it never is with the Queen of Swords. But there is a need to take a very balanced perspective and outlook with the Justice card on this situation. And also really just to look at the honesty and the truthfulness of a situation. Are you strong enough to do this? Do you see what I mean? It's all very well and good to talk about people being vulnerable to change and being open to change, because to be open is to be vulnerable. It's not so easy just to say I'm open to it, because there may be several things. And actually as well, the hangman means to sacrifice oneself. Okay. So perhaps there needs to be a sacrifice here as well to the change, with the World card being the card of completion and new cycles. So perhaps there is a need to kind of sacrifice oneself to the change. Perhaps this is the end of comfort, in which there is a light now being shone on, something that you didn't really even want to look at before, because the High Priestess doesn't have to just be secret. It can be something that you suppressed. Your heart is open to it, but you still can't see the bigger picture as well. She's not seeing the bigger picture. Her heart is open because she no longer has the swords, as crossing her heart, but she still can't see. So your heart might be open to seeing the unknown, to seeing the other side, but you're still not seeing the bigger picture because you're burdened down by the weight of family and home life and this, that, and the other. So the clue might be is that the vulnerability that you feel, that you still can't really open yourself up to, is to do with the clue of the family, your home. Perhaps it's where you live, the country that you live in, the community that you live in. Maybe you're weighed down by the responsibility of all those things, Sagittarius. But in order to fulfill this destiny, this route, this role, you have to let go of the boundaries that you carry, the traditions that you carry. The Hierophant is also not just tradition, but when we look at tradition, it's repetitiveness. As I mentioned at the beginning of the reading, guys, it's system, it's systematic. So you have to let go of the systematic life that you've led. Whether this is doing a 9-to-5 job, doing the same thing every weekend, going on the same holidays every year, whatever it is, whatever system you've been living by, whatever repetitiveness, because the Hierophant in the house of the Fool is not repetitive, remember. We've got two different energies in the card. You have the Fool card and you've got the repetitive Hierophant in it. He lives by systems, he lives by tradition. The Fool does not. So this card is telling you to let go of those boundaries in order to pursue the new role, or the new route, or the new journey. It will require you to be vulnerable. You may get burnt because you're naked and you're facing into the sun. But you have to be vulnerable and open to the change before you can let go of whatever the material thing is, or whatever it is that you've been working for. This is a very big decision to be making for some of you guys. So take your time. And also with Temperance and the Eight of Coins, I think the advice is also take your time with Temperance. Temperance is a slow-moving card before you make any decisions with that Death card, to let go of whatever it is that you've worked for, or whatever it is that, you're still attached to. Okay, so be very slow when making those decisions as well. Okay, let's have a look at what the spiritual advice is, guys, for you. Spiritual advice, please, for Sagittarius. Right, so a year from now flicked out. Let's have a look at what the advice is with the year from now card. Right, the event you are asking about will occur within this year, or soon after. During this time interval, you're encouraged to stay optimistic and to continue with self-care activities and other preparations for your desire. Remember that other people's free will choices are involved. Your angels are presently working behind the scenes on your behalf even if you can't immediately see the evidence of your answered prayers. All right, that's your reading, my darlings. Thanks for joining me. If you'd like your own private reading, I think I just did that upside down. It's because I'm recording towards me. Usually I record it upside down because I've got a monitor to look at, but I'm using a different camera, so I can't do that. Yeah, a year from now. So yeah, if you'd like a private reading with me, Saggies, click on the link in the comment section below. And also join me on Patreon. I'll be there in November sometime. Love you guys loads. Take care. Bye-bye.